Hi there. I need to ask you a question. Where is your market? I want to talk to you about that because a lot of times we are not quite sure where our market is. Hi, my name is Paul Rossbury, and I'm the founder of Learn, Start, Build. Over the years, I have helped people start small businesses, helped build my own businesses, and worked with corporations across the country. I have over 50 years of experience, and so I want to help you become all that you can be in learning what you need to know to start your business and to build it to become successful. So today we're going to be talking about where is your market? Where is your market? Do you know what it is? Well, one of the first questions you have to figure out or know is, where is your market? Is who are your customers? Who are your customers? Where are your customers? Or where are the customers? A lot of times we open our doors and then all of a sudden we're there and waiting for the customers to come in, but we didn't even know who they were in the first place. And of course, when we discover who they are and where they are, then we have to know some more about them. First off, what do they spend their money on? If you have a product they don't spend money on, they're not your customers. Plain and simple. You can have the best widget in the world, but if people aren't spending money on it, it's not a business. It becomes a hobby. Then, what do they spend their time doing? This all relates to what the product is you have, who your customers are, where your customers are, what they spend the money on, and what do they spend their time doing. This is all about reaching your customers so that you can learn about what your business is, start it, and build it to a great success. So who are your customers? What are their age groups? How old are they? A lot of times people change in what they do as they grow older. From ages 18 to 25, they're probably into a lot of activities. As they get a little older, they may have a family. They may be doing things with their family. And they get a little older, then they're doing more social or business. And then above 65, above 65 is very active today. A lot of times people consider 65 the middle of the age 50 or 45 of what it was before. And so many people who are very active into their 80s and even 90s. So above 65 is not quite a nebulous, but it's still developing what they're doing. Secondly, or next is, are they male or female, or are they both? Can both sexes use your product or your service? And of course, are they individuals or are they families? Are they married? You can ask yourself all these questions. Are they just living together, cohabitating? That does affect who your customer is. Because if they're married, they're usually pooling their money together. And if they're not married, they're pooling their money separately. So you have to look at and see what they are. Are they individuals or families? Are they in business themselves? In other words, maybe they have a business. It might be a small business, might be a large business. Are they self-employed, which is basically an entrepreneur or someone who doesn't have any employees? An entrepreneur may be somebody who is building a business and has employees and maybe needs some things that you have. And of course, are they a corporation? This is about who your customers are. So you need to look at those parts of their life. Where are the customers? Your location. Local, it might be within your neighborhood or your city or your county. It depends on what you're servicing, what your product is. I'll give you an example. A restaurant basically is a local neighborhood business. A gas station, anything that provides a service to the local people within a geographic area. Most businesses work with customers within a 5-mile radius on a local area. So when you're doing a local business or a small business that's going to be catering to a number of people in its local geographic area, you may have to have a retail outlet right where your customers are. Next is a regional, county, or multiple county, or maybe even regionally for the whole state. How you're going to reach your people is going to be depending on where they are, where the customers are. If they're in a broad-based county, it might be a specific industry that you're serving or that you're providing services to. An example might be you might be a supplier of food products. You want to distribute food to different restaurants, and that may be a county-wide or a multiple county thing. You may be providing a service company, services to a multiple county area. In that case, you want to make sure that you're organized and structured so that you can service that. All of this about your customers and how you're going to service them. Nationally, are they across the United States or in another country? You need to look at where your customers are. They may be international. And as you look at where your customers are that you're serving, or the people who would buy or use your product, you need to look at where they are. So, and write all of this down because it's very important, because it actually indicates how you're going to build and do your business. Next is, what do they spend their money on? Well, if they're a family, a lot of times they're spending all their money on children and household and living and getting kids to school and school supplies and clothing and things of that nature. So the question gets down to is, do they have any extra money for your product? Or is it a product that fills the need for those families or those children? Are they spending their money on sporting activities or football, basketball? Are they being entertained by it? Do they play golf? Do they go to auto races? All different kinds of sports. This also indicates where they might be or where you can reach them. Entertainment. Do they spend their money on movies or social events? Do they go to a lot of antique malls, or do they go to these outdoor events, art festivals, or different kinds of festivals? So where are they spending their money? And of course, are they spending it on videos or, recordings or, things of that nature? Well, there's ways that you can advertise in those that you can reach those people. And so where do they spend their money? That's also where they're going to be. They might have personal activities, hobbies, computer games, crafts, many, many things that people are doing. So the point is that you really need to look at where they spend their money. And of course, where do they spend their time? What are they spending their time doing? If it's family, it might be youth activities or sporting events. Again, businesses. Are they networking? Are they going to conventions? Are they attending training seminars? Do they attend business functions in the community? What do they spend their time doing? If they spend all their time on business, then you need to reach them where they are. And of course, are they involved in the community? Are they involved in political things or religion, church? Are they involved in social things? Do belong to clubs, fraternity clubs? What are they involved in? Where do they spend their time? Socially, they might be in restaurants or bars or parks, or they might be going out boating, or they might be spending time with families and friends in the neighborhood. Wherever they're spending their time, you need to be writing this down, because it's how you reach your customers. Where are your customers? Well, it's about finding the information, gathering that information. The previous questions are about gathering that information. Well, how do you get it? And what do you do with it? Well, we're going to look at that, because sometimes it can be very time consuming, or you can take shortcuts of how to get that information, where do you find it, etc. So let's look at that as far as where are your customers. First off, where do you find the information? Well, there's statistical data from past records. You can go back through census records, analytics, all kinds of records where people have spent money in the past or what they're doing. And of course, you can look at the stock market in a lot of different areas. So statistical data is very key about this information. The county, okay, latest census reports, census activities, how many families there are. In the county where we live, we have 264 residences or households, and the average population of each household is 2.1 persons. So if you look at it from that perspective, that's a way of looking at it. Okay, well, you got 550,000 people in that geographic area. Now, if you break it down into the cities and the neighborhoods, all of that is broken down so that you can take that data, that information, and apply it to what you're doing. Reports, different reports that you might be able to find about things that are going on in the community. The internet. There's a lot of places on the internet you can find information. In the state, again, we go back to the census and the reports and topical articles. In other words, something that applies or is applicable to your particular business. Federal, there's marketing records and industry reports all through the Census Bureau. You can find that information about the trends in particular businesses, the internet marketing business. All these different businesses and all those trends are found in that statistical data. So you need to be able to look at it and find it and get the information. You need to know what you're looking for, but the point is that's where you find it. Internationally, you're trying to find information. It's all through the internet. You can look at all of those things. How do you get it? Most of it's downloadable data from the internet, or you can write to the agencies. You can write to an agency that actually gathers this data, and they'll either give it to you or sell it to you. A lot of times that's what they do. They gather information, and that information is for businesses who need to have that information to make decisions. And of course, this is all about research and development. You have to research your business, and you have to keep on top of where those trends are so that you know how to conduct your business. So you're always going to be doing some research and development in satisfying the needs of your customers and where you're going, and building your market to build your business. Not only to learn what your business is about, not only to learn how to get it started where it's going to have a greater chance of success, but also continuing to build your business. That's what Learn, Start, Build is all about, is teaching you what you need to know to learn, what you need to know to start, and what you need to know to build. And as we continue on that, so this video is only a tip of the iceberg. In other videos, as you become a subscriber, we have other videos that give you more detailed information of where to get this stuff, how to use it, and how it applies to your business. Those are all key functions. So rather than you learning it on your own, we provide that shortcut so that you can learn more. News reporting agencies, journals, financial journals, or topical journals. Those are other ways that you can get the information that you need about your business. What do you do with it? Well, you use it for your own analysis. You know, you look at your business and you say, well, if I've got 300,000 people or 300,000 residents, and I'm providing repair work for houses, or I'm providing some service that way, I've got 300,000 houses in a county-wide area. Well, I'm never going to handle that many, so what geographic area am I going to limit myself to so that I can provide a better service? And of course, then you look at what the age of the houses are, what the people living there, and what kind of services that they might use. Then you learn all that you can about the data, and then you apply it to your business or your project. And as you apply it to your business or your project, you can see how you can become more successful because you have this information. I have a friend of mine who wanted to start a restaurant. And of course, he thought he knew all about restaurant business. But then I said, you need to go and talk to the geographic area around whom you have. Who's going to come and eat at your restaurant? And it sent him on discovering who that was. So he stood outside a grocery store that was very close by and asked people, you know, I'm thinking about starting a restaurant over here, and what kind of food would you like? what kind of price ranging, and so on like that. He found from people who are going to be using that restaurant really close by what that was available. And of course, there was a retirement community where people who are low-income retirement, but basically they live in this great big apartment building, but they don't have a kitchen facility, a common kitchen area. They have a fellowship hall, but they don't really have food service. But his restaurant was going to be right next door, so he decided that one of the markets that he would do was offer boxed lunches for people, and then he would deliver them for them. And of course, that could be, if he gets 50 boxed lunches a day, that's a great business all by itself. So the potential is there, but you also have to figure out how you're going to tap into that market. And that's what this is all about, is learning where your market is, identifying where you would have the best leverage, where you would make the most money, and of course, that's what business is really all about. It's about you making the money to become successful so that you can succeed greater and better. And that's what the American dream is about. But if you don't know how to tap into the American dream, then you just become an employee. And so it's important to be able to know what you need to know to learn, start a business, and build it to great success. So what's next? Well, if we look at what's next, we're going to talk about it. LearnStartBuild.com. If you become a freshman subscriber and become an Earn As You Learn affiliate, then you can not only help yourself with what you learn, but also you'll have access to more in-depth information. And that information can help you grow. You become part of a success club. And if you become an Earn As You Learn affiliate, whenever you refer someone and you get your affiliate link, for as long as they're a subscribing member, you earn 25% of their subscription. And of course, as they continue to grow and you can continue to grow, you can become advanced and earn more and more and more. And it's recurring. So it's an Earn As You Learn affiliate program just for you so that it can help you grow and that you can earn as you learn and grow. I want to thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you listening to this video. Log in to LearnStartBuild.com. Get on our mailing list and also become a freshman subscriber today. Thank you for joining us.